Okay, take fucking 20. God damn it. What is it, an hour later? 45 minutes later? Sorry for any of you guys who wasted your time. I definitely wasted my time trying to fuck with this thing. Anyways, this is a live stream I'm trying to do. I think I'm finally up. I hope you guys can see my video and I hope you guys can hear me. I can hear your mouse clicks. Yay. Alright, we're up. You can hear me. You can definitely hear me. God, that was ridiculous. Alright, well, welcome to my garage. It's Friday. This is going to be live stream number 2. I'm going to try it again here because I'm having a lot of technical difficulties because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to live streams. Like, I know what I'm doing with cars and Subarus, but I do not know what I'm doing with this technology in these live streams. So I apologize. Okay, off the top or at the top here, some housekeeping stuff. So basically, I did a post. I had a link to a Google Docs form, and that form had 4 questions on it. Basically, the first question was, what's your name or any screen name or anything you want to go by? What's your Subaru related question? That way we can have some questions to work with here to start, to kick off the day. And then what else did I put in there? Do you want to see the live stream stuff continue? And after the first 2, I doubt anybody really wants to see it, but I'm going to keep doing it because I think it's a good thing to do. And I have a long-term plan here. I want to get better and better doing these live streams, so I'm gonna do them. And then the 4th one was any other additional information you guys put in. So the guys, I read all those questions. I read all the submittals you guys did. I really appreciate you guys who did put in questions. I especially appreciate that last question where you guys added some extra information. It was optional, and a lot of really positive feedback there. So I appreciate that. Please keep it coming because it really helps keep me motivated. And I'm gonna dive into a couple of those questions. So I know I've tried this like multiple times, and for those of you guys who were on the live stream last week, we did talk about these questions, but they didn't get posted, and I figured there might be some interesting questions for some people that would like to hear about it. So we're gonna dive into these questions, okay? Let me see if I got the, sorry here, where to go? I got the questions pulled up here. I guess I'm not to find them. Where is my shit? I'm all confused here. My bookmarks. Where's my Google questions? Why are they not here? Sorry, people. Now you're gonna see the insides of how I do this. Let's see if I can get to this thing. Live Q&A. That's my desktop screensaver you're looking at. So the first question was, what's special about 22B? Not 22B. We all know what the hell is special about 22B. What's special about the 22T, the 22T engine? And I apologize again for those of you guys who already saw this last week. Real quickly, I'll just run over it though because it wasn't saved. What's special about the 22T is that it's a closed deck block. It was a turbo motor that was in the first gen Legacies. It's interesting, it didn't have an intercooler. It was basically just turbo going right into the engine, but it had a closed deck block, and without that intercooler, you couldn't really add a lot more boost because the charge would get too hot and you'd have pre-ignition or pre-detonation. But you did have a block that was stout and ready for a whole bunch more horsepower. And if you were in the performance or an aftermarket in the 90s, mid-90s, late 90s, the 22T was the most legit block you get your hands on. Okay, let me get into the form right here. It's not really loading. I don't know why. And we're in. Okay, so let me put it over here. So this is that questionnaire, and you guys are seeing my side of it, responses side. So basically the Google Forms, you guys can use it for your stuff too. Google Forms basically is this really easy application in the Google Drive you can use, and you basically just send out the link like I did to you guys, and then when you get it on my side, it like basically compiles all the answers, and you can review all those answers compiled in different ways. Like it has a bar graph right here, and then it also has like a pie graph right here. So for example, question 3 was, do you want to see the live Friday Q&As continue? Like I said, after today, which was horrible, I wouldn't be surprised if this number changed significantly. But 37% of you guys said they're pretty cool. Expand it, maybe bring some more people involved, and that would be cool. After COVID, we could maybe do that. And maybe even during, with some distancing and some shit like that. I don't know. We'll see. And then 62% said, let's see how it goes, which is probably a smart thing because it's been pretty rocky so far. And then there's a bunch of additional information from you guys, which I really appreciate. So getting over to the questions, so I can go back to the questions right here at the top, and I can just jump through each one of the 4 questions I had posted for you guys. So these are all the names of everybody, and I'll jump to the questions. The first one was a EJ22T. What was special about that? It's a closed deck block. You know, in the aftermarket industry right now, people are paying thousands of dollars for closed deck blocks, and up to 10 or 12,000 for billet blocks. But that's a whole nother level because there's a lot of improvements in those billet blocks that are in kind of next level. Okay, let's see. I think I did already talk about this. Will you upgrade the fuel pump on my coupe? Yeah, it's a good idea to upgrade your fuel pump when you do a turbo swap. It's a good idea to upgrade a fuel pump that's 10 or 15 years old too, frankly. And there's a bunch of companies out there. I'm gonna give a little shout out to Ryder Racing. They're on the other side of the globe, down in Australia, I believe, and they actually have a hardwire kit that basically helps get better electricity and more reliable electricity and ground to your fuel pumps. Take a look at them, guys. Ryder Racing. I've talked to them a little bit in the past, and we've talked about maybe doing a collaboration thing. We never did do it, but they're really cool, and I've been meaning to give them a shout out. So check them out, Ryder Racing. Really cool fuel pump hardwiring kits. Yeah, AM340 for the fuel swap. There's a bunch of different other fuel companies out there. God dang it, I'm blanking on the one right now, the legit one that has the green font in their thing. Radium Engineering. Check out Radium Engineering, guys, if you guys want to see high-end, legit, really high-quality fueling components. Okay. JDM, also what JDM mods you dying for? I did talk about that last week. I mean, as far as JDM mods, I'm actually more into the mechanical side of things. So, oh, here we go. I'm reading. I should take a look at some of your guys' posts here. A bunch of different comments here. So, sorry, got distracted. Yeah, JDM mods. I'm focused on the mechanical side of things. Honestly, like the JDM stuff is cool, and I definitely like the rear tail lights I got on. Those totally transformed the look of the back of the car. And you know, there's the clear corners are legit. The JDM facelift front end grille with the JDM pink logo is legit, and that pink logo goes great with this blue. This is that Rally Blue Pearl, kind of like World Rally Blue, but it's Rally Blue Pearl, a little bit darker, and that pink looks legit, especially that 90s pink. It's a really pink color. That pink changed a lot over the years, guys. You know, there's been like half a dozen or more versions of that pink color. So I like the 90s version a little bit more than the later ones. I feel like it got a little bit redder later. Yeah, JDM mods, that's a bit. I mean, basically I'm going to get the mechanical side stuff, dial the car in on the road, take it to the track, do a couple track days, and start dialing it on the track. Once I get it kind of dialed in, then I'll start slowly adding some of the JDM mods as far as look stuff. Well, okay, seats. Some GCA good JDM seats with some good side bolstering would be good. These RS 2.5 seats are legit. I like having the whole RS interior in this thing, which has been a long journey getting the whole interior restored on this thing. But the seats, these 2.5 RS seats, they don't have a lot of side bolstering. And as far as like hitting the G's and the corners, they're not going to be very good for that kind of performance spirited driving. Okay, another question here. 2010 Forester, naturally aspirated, 157,000 miles. Wondering if I should just adjust my valves. Engine runs and sounds great. Worried about the exhaust gap getting too tight. What's your experience? No experience with the 2010 Forester. I basically don't have any experience with any Subarus newer than about 2007 or 8. I kind of like, I fucked around with them. I've done some maintenance stuff for them. But I like to stick with the 90s and early 2000s Subarus. Have a little bit more of an analog feel. But to get to your question, it's not about me, it's about you here on this one. Engine runs and sounds great. I wouldn't worry about it, honestly. If you got some problems starting to pop up, maybe take a look at thinking about that. But if you're not running any problems, I wouldn't worry about it at all. Don't fuck with it. It's real common for people to try to do something proactive and end up messing it up and wishing they never fucked with it in the first place. I feel like that's a real common scenario. Okay. Let's see. If you choose a swap other than a Subaru motor, if you could choose a swap other than a Subaru motor, you choose and why? I talked about this last week, guys. An LS1 is a cool motor to do for a GCA coupe. Not a lot of people have done it. I don't think it can be done maybe with the front rails, with the frame rails in this car. Of course, a lot of people are doing the a 2JZ motor, and that's been done, and it's badass. Honestly, the maintenance on those motors looks so appealing. You know what I mean? I love Subarus. I love the performance side. I love basically, this is a side note. The reason I'm into Subarus is because the fundamental, like the design approach to the vehicles. So I didn't start off with Subarus. I basically been through all the different manufacturers out there. I started off with domestic small block Chevys, and I was definitely a Chevy guy, and I was kind of anti-Ford guy, and I basically did a lot of street racing against a lot of Ford guys back in the day, like 20 years ago. And I was into Chevys, building high revving small block Chevy engines, V8s, and I had a couple of 68 Camaros, and I was into circle track racing and drag racing, got into sand drag racing. That's where I first saw high horsepower four cylinders, by the way, was the Volkswagen sand drag racing scene. So those Volkswagen motors are mostly all air cooled, but they're basically the same architecture as Subaru motors, or that flat four design. And, you know, Volkswagen had been developing and kind of using that flat four design for forever, frankly, with the early Volkswagen stuff, the Bug and stuff. But Subaru actually kind of was the only Japanese manufacturer that adopted that flat four design from the German engineers and kind of, I think, redesigned it to be more robust and more reliable for a daily commuter and for performance applications. So that's kind of how I evolved, frankly, actually. It was like American domestic cars, and then I kind of started getting into the Volkswagen scene through sand drag racing and through Score off-road racing, because I've been involved in the Baja 1000 and the 500 and the Ducati 250 and the Mint 400 and a bunch of these different races. And I was after my UTI days, and basically I got into these Volkswagen sand motors, basically high performance motors that you build for kind of Score off-road stuff. And that kind of led into me exploring four-cylinder motors and flat four motors, and I really fell in love with that flat four design because they have really interesting design characteristics as far as like being a really smooth revving engine with that horizontal architecture. And then it was a natural transition to get into Subarus and these Japanese motors that use that flat four design. Okay. That's why'd you get into Subarus and why you love them? So that's the flat four design. It evolved from the German stuff to the Japanese stuff. But the reason I actually ended up landing in Subarus for a motorsport application was really because everything else that they have to offer. My perfect architecture for a car is a manual transmission, and there's lots of different versions and horsepower applications there. You can go from the basic stuff to really, really high-end kind of direct gear engagement transmissions. But I like a manual transmission. I like all-wheel drive. I like low center of gravity. I like lightweight, and I like fairly high horsepower, which basically means a turbo small displacement motor. So of all the cars that are out there, you know, that's kind of a supercar configuration, by the way, guys. You know, if you think about supercars, a lot of supercars, they might have V12s, but they're usually smaller displacement V12s. So a lot of supercars out there will have that same kind of configuration. And that's the ultimate engine and chassis combination, I think. Manual transmission, all-wheel drive, lightweight, low center of gravity. Of course, mid-engine or rear engine really shifts that gravity center point a lot differently than the way front engine cars do. And tangent, guys, we'll talk about that a little bit, but I'm actually kind of involved in helping somebody build a Factory 5 818R right now. I'm doing some videos of it. I'm going to post some videos shortly, and I've got a bunch of video footage already shot and I'm editing. And the Factory 5 Racing 818R is a full tube frame chassis that uses a 2002 through 2007 Subaru Impreza as its donor car. So you basically use the engine, the transmission, the brakes, and the suspension. You strip those out of your donor car. You bolt them into this prefabricated chassis that comes from Factory 5 with a huge instruction book that's like 3 inches thick of every single step with pictures and instructions. And you basically assemble this like full tube frame race car in your garage using a Subaru as a donor vehicle. Pretty badass. And really kind of like takes advantage of all the pieces of Subaru that are really well designed and well engineered and low cost once they are in a donor vehicle. I mean, there's no way to compare the cost of getting, you know, brakes, suspension, steering, engine, transmission, and a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff that you can get from a salvage donor car for like $4,000. You'll never be able to get that buying it, you know, in the aftermarket. Okay, let's see. That's what got me Subarus. We do 6-speed swap on any of your cars. Yeah, 6-speed. So for those of you guys who don't know or aren't familiar with the 6-speed swaps or the 6 speeds, the STI 6-speed is a much more robust transmission. It's much larger. It's got a lot more contact area on the teeth. It's got larger diameter gear sets, and it's got internal oiling that actually adds oil into those gears that helps lubricate them and helps keep them cool. So it's next level as far as transmission design. The 5-speed or none of the other transmissions have anything like that. And because of that, they're much more robust and they can handle a ton more horsepower. I've heard of guys running 800 horsepower with 6 speeds, drag racing them and not breaking, you know, being a little bit more gentle on the launch. But, you know, I think 600 horsepower range, you definitely want a 6-speed, STI 6-speed. And if you're in the 800 to 1,000 horsepower range, you're probably stretching the limits of it. But I think you can probably baby it a little bit and keep it going in that range even. Not to mention the gear ratios you'll get. There's a lot of advantage of having that 6-speed and one more gear to split your ratio up in, as far as your driving speeds and your engine speeds. So yeah, definitely a thing I want to do. But the fucking cost of these 6-speeds is crazy, guys. I mean, come on. You know, a nice 6-speed's $3,000, $3,500 at a minimum, really. You might be able to find some off one with some stuff that isn't ideal for $2,500, but you're looking at $3,000 for a 6-speed. And you know, honestly, most 90 Subarus or early 2000 Subarus are in that range, $3,000 or $4,000. So you're looking at almost spending as much as the car's worth for the transmission. Of course, this coupe's worth more than that, and we're on kind of the next level when we're talking about putting this 6-speed into this GC8 coupe, because these things are really valuable. They're becoming collector cars, and as far as that is concerned, for me, I'm not selling this car. I don't really plan on selling this car ever. I kind of realized a long time ago, rather than going, I've had a lot of cars. I'm a car guy like you guys. I've gone through, you know, American cars and all the sports cars. I had muscle cars from the 60s, and then I had, you know, German cars and Japanese cars, and I've bought and sold a lot of cars. I actually had a retail dealer's license, and I had a retail dealership for a little while. It's called SubaruONLY, and so I bought and sold cars from auctions, and you know, and I've had a lot of personal cars. I've had at least 50 or 60 personal cars, and I've probably bought and sold maybe 40 or 50 from auctions. And honestly, I came to the point where I realized, rather than just building a car, using it, and then moving on to the next car, why don't I just find the platform that I really like for good? Because what I'm interested in is not the newest thing. What I'm interested in is just like a solid platform that I can use for motorsports and for the community of people that I want to hang out with. And this GC8 coupe is it. So for me, this is the long-term car for me. I don't see there's any reason to ever sell this car. The only thing I'll ever do is swap out the engine or the transmission or suspension for a different long-term application for motorsport applications, basically. So, you know, based on specs or rules and things like that. But to me, you know, a car is a car. And once you find the perfect car for yourself, why not just hang on to it and then grow with it and have it grow with you throughout your life and all the different things you're into doing. So that's what I'm doing with this GC8 coupe. No plans on selling anytime soon. And eventually I'll put a 6-speed in it. Okay, trying to pass my emissions tests, and can't get my catalytic converter. Everything else is fine, no leaks. I don't know. I don't really know much about those. Thoughts on the Cobb access port, over-the-shelf tuning, monitor. Do you like the monitoring platform? Well, Cobb's legit. My thoughts on Cobb's is that they're very expensive, but they've carved out a niche market where they can charge that much, and that's just the way it works in a basically competitive market. So, you know, real expensive stuff, really high quality stuff. You know, I think a lot of the bad feedback you'll see on the forums about Cobb stuff is really just like user error and you know, just kind of like one-off experiences, anecdotal experiences. You know, the company is stacked full of legit guys who know what they're doing. They build really, really high quality products. If you take the time to reach out to their tech guys and actually walk through everything with them, I feel like you probably can't go wrong, because they have the staff to provide the tech support to back up their products, which are really high quality products that they stand behind. So I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not fucking hooked up with Cobb in any way, shape, or form, but they're one of the good companies out there that have been one of the foundational companies that have helped the entire performance market grow for Subarus. So I have a lot of respect for them, and I think they're a great, great asset to the enthusiasts out there. Over-the-shelf tuning, yeah, I mean, OTS is over-the-shelf tuning. You know, it's basically a boilerplate tune that you should only be used with a lot of caution. You know, it's not meant to be a ideal tune, and because of that, it really should be, you know, a conservative tune that doesn't hurt your car, but isn't maximizing horsepower. But I haven't really messed with them a whole lot. I'm not a tuner. Maybe in another phase of my life I'll become one, because I think that'd be a really cool kind of gig. But for the most part, that's my understanding of what these OTS tunes are. They're a conservative tune that should fit the bill for the general upgrades you have for your vehicle, and hopefully they're leaving a little bit of performance on the table because they want to have that margin of error so they don't screw your engine up. But I'm sure they're used in the wrong way. I mean, the other thing that happens with OTS tunes is by design, they're put together for amateurs to be able to load into their map of their car and be able to, you know, decide whether or not it's a good one to choose. So anytime you have people that aren't the professionals, meaning like certified cob tuners, you have somebody that doesn't understand the whole picture, doesn't understand maybe the mechanical aspects of the car or the implications of choosing one map over another. So you basically have a bunch of, amateurs, which I'm an amateur too in this regard, choosing what map they think would be best for the car and then just loading it up on themselves, which is what Cobb wanted to do. That's the whole reason they did it, is they realized that not everybody can afford to take it to get a pro tune, and they wanted to have some, boilerplate tunes that people could install in their car if they only had an exhaust and intake and things like that. So that's the intention of the OTS tunes, and I totally get it. I mean, it makes sense, right? You want to provide the most value for your customers, given whatever products you have available from them. I think that's just one more value that these tuning units can provide. Okay, any plans to upgrade to stereo? Discuss, brake lights. Let me see here. My brake light size on my dash, solve it, my GC, how can I sell my fog lights? I think we talked about this last week. I don't want to get into this too much detail, but the e-brake, right? The brake light stays on my dash, my brake light. Yeah. I think you're talking about e-brake, I assume. And if it's your e-brake, there's a little switch right in your center console, right underneath e-brake. And a lot of times that switch gets dusty and full of like gook and gunk. And if you could take your center console apart, clean that switch, make sure the switch contacts aren't just stuck in the closed position. It kind of pops with a little spring that's in there. That might help that little light pop off. Installing your fog lights. Yeah, I think we were talking about this. I mean, from my understanding, most of the wiring harnesses from Subaru had the fog light connectors in the circuit in the wiring harness, even if the car didn't have the fog lights. But that it may not be the case. I don't know. So I feel like I've seen a little bit of back and forth information on that, and I don't know exactly what the right answer is for that one. Any plans to upgrade to stereo or discuss head units after refreshing the speakers? Upgrading the stereo? No, honestly not. I have a kind of an OEM stereo in there. I don't think it's the original Impreza stereo that came in the late 90s in this car in 1998. I think I have one that's actually from a Legacy, but I like the button design. It's a perfect match as far as the period correct design and the colors and just kind of the look of it. So I'm keeping this like late 90s Legacy wideband radio I have in there, singled in, definitely OEM style. I'm not really big into loud music on the cars. I just want to have a little bit of tunes. I do want to have a way to play my Bluetooth or play my songs from my cell phone through the Bluetooth in the stereo. And the best way I've found for that is just using one of these little FM modulators. I don't know if you guys know those things are real cheap, like $20 little items you can get, and you just set your radio to a certain FM station, and then that little FM modulator connects to your phone through Bluetooth, and then you play your phone through that little modulator and through that FM signal. And it's a little bit staticky. It's not very good quality, but definitely it works. It gets you 99% of the way there. And for somebody like me, it's not an audio aficionado that doesn't care. That's okay. Okay. Any other resources for restoring the sunroof? Any resource for restoring the sunroof on 2.5 RS? The sunroof. I've been avoiding dealing with the sunroof. I got to be honest, guys. It looks like it works, but I haven't even turned the dial or hit the switch to see if the sunroof opens, because I'm afraid it's gonna open and get stuck in some open position or semi-open position. So I don't know a lot about sunroofs. I'm gonna dive into it on this car soon. Can't keep avoiding that. Resources for restoring them. There are parts available. So I have dabbled in the parts database in Subaru. Basically, when you get into their database, you can kind of flip through. I mean, I can do that with you. No, I'm not going to do that. That'll take too long. But basically, you can just go on Google, search OEM parts, find any Subaru OEM dealer online, and then go into, body panels and roof, and basically look up all the parts they have available. And there's definitely a bunch of parts available for these, for sure. Especially one of the main seals that you need to go around it. I looked that up recently. What's your favorite non-GC Subaru? I talked about this last week. I'll talk about it again, though, for those of you who missed it and it didn't get posted. And I'm going to leave this video up to post because I guess we have sound here, and we're not doing too bad here. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments here. I'm not going to read all of them, but none of the comments are saying that the video is fucked up and that the audio is fucked up, so I guess we're going to keep going. Non-GC, first-gen Legacies, guys. Those first-gen Legacies are so badass. They're boxy, that vintage 90s, perfect 90s design with that boxy look. I don't have a picture pulled up, but the way the windows and the black kind of pillar on the exterior blends in with the windows, and then they have the white roof or the body colored roof, which I like the white as my favorite body color. And then the body below is legit, definitely legit. So yeah, first gen Legacies are awesome. I like the SVXs. I like the I like the little Brumbies. I like a lot of the 90s Subarus. I gotta be honest. I like the RX. That thing's kind of cool. Or XT. That thing's badass. I don't know if you guys remember that XT commercial from the late mid 80s. Definitely a cool. Subaru had really cool commercials in the 80s, I gotta say. So favorite is the first gen Legacy, definitely. And someday I'll definitely have a first gen Legacy in my stable for sure. There's actually one right now, guys. If you're interested in a first gen Legacy, a turbo 5-speed, no shit. Should I pull it up? Can I pull it up here? I don't know how to pull it up really easily. I should have these things queued up. Next week I'll have it queued up. There's a turbo 5-speed Legacy for sale in the Tahoe area, guys, in California. And it's only for, I think, $2,500 or $2,800. And it looks kind of decent and mostly original. So, I think that's a steal. If you guys are looking for a 5-speed original turbo Legacy, this thing has a 2.2 turbo motor. So $2,500 and you get the entire car, looks like it drives fine, and you get the 2.2 turbo motor, closed deck motor. Okay, any advice for P4113-1443 code? I think that's a fuel evap or something. We talked about that last week. Recently, I think I don't have a whole lot to say on that. I mean, basically, I think that what that is that evap code where there's vapors in your gas tank, and those vapors need to be able to escape, otherwise it builds up too much pressure. And there's these little charcoal canister filters, basically, that allow those vapors to pass through the charcoal canister and then vent out to the atmosphere. And those canisters and the pieces on them can get clogged up. And if they do, then it's not going to vent, and then it'll build up pressure, and then it throws a check engine light for that code. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Okay. Going to jump over to some of the comments here. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Definitely a few of you guys stuck around, and I got to most of your questions here. I can pull up some of the questions here from the live chat. Let me go back to the SubaruONLY channel here. And I guess you guys are looking at, no, that's not going to work. Here you guys are looking at me, looking at me. Don't want to do that. Okay. So, looking at your questions here. Good day, Luke. It's all, brother. Overfill tank. Should I STI swap my 2000 2.5 RS? I try to save up. Yeah, you should STI swap your 2.5 RS. Hell yeah, brother. Definitely head gasket. Get a block testing kit. Text hydrocarbons in your cooling system. Yeah, those work. I've used those myself. They work really good. Pass a test, Dennis. Hey there. Where are you? Australia. What's up, Australia? A lot of cool people down there. A lot of cool car scenes down there too. I love it. It's not pink, it's cherry blossom red. True. Thank you for the correction. Is the podcast dead? No, it's not. Actually, I'm glad you guys asked about the podcast. I literally talked to Jimmy extensively. Like, we end up getting stuck on the phone. Every time we talk for fucking hours. Jimmy, if you're watching this thing, man, I love it. And it's a good thing. But god damn it, we talk forever. We're doing the podcast. We're bringing it back. We got a game plan. I definitely want to bring it back. We were put on hold we'll get into why we put it on hold, but we're bringing back the podcast 100%. So keep an eye out for the podcast. It's coming back. Jimmy, we're making this happen. You have a blown up 2.5 RS. I want to swap it. What's a better route for importing it? 207 or going with US Domesmol? Yeah, the 207 is pretty badass. That's a hard one, guys. That is for the people in performance world of Subarus. The 207 or just going with a 2.5 turbo motor, the 257. It's a hard question. I feel like it's more unique and more of a kind of an interesting build to do the 207. It's more of a high revving motor, obviously, because it's got the smaller displacement. And I guess it's your intended application. If you're going to use this car on the track and you plan on using it at tracks that have a lot of high revving sections of the course, then definitely think about the 207. If you're going to do it on something, if you want to have something that's more fun for daily driving, or maybe some low end torque for like something like rallycross where the speeds are lower but you need more torque to pull out those turns, maybe think about the 225, the US 257. Yeah, that's a good question though. Kind of on the fence on that myself, frankly. There's advantages and disadvantages with both. I think I lean towards the 207 because it's cooler and it's a little more fun in a way. To have a motor scream like that, and yeah. And I've never driven one, frankly. So this is all going on paper and theory for me. Honestly, I don't have any first-hand experience here. I know the 257, but I haven't actually driven a 207 with a good valve train. That's a good question, actually. Like, how much does it cost to really get an EJ 207 to spin up to its potential, which I'm not even sure, probably in the 9,000 range. It's gonna cost a little bit. Love the videos from Columbia. Channel's awesome, helpful, awesome. What's up, Columbia? Appreciate it, man. Kevin. Hey, man, love videos. Forester XT06 with 200 kilowatts. From Melbourne, Australia. What's up with the Forester XT, guys? I got an XT2. I got an 04 XT, and I need to start doing more videos on it again, guys. I've been totally caught up with this GC8 coupe, but I have a 2004 XT with a bunch of different parts on it, totally built motor. Not the built bottom end, stock bottom end, a bunch of bolt-ons, let's just say that. And it was pro-tuned, and it's making like, I don't remember, 290 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels, something like that. I mean, it's a nice little Forester. I love the Foresters, instantly, guys. Okay, side note on the Foresters, I'm kind of thinking of building a custom like little tow setup so I can tow my GC8 coupe behind my Forester. Let me know what you guys think about that one. I think it'd be kind of cool. Okay, definitely love to see super detailed short block rebuild, 205 or 207. Yeah. Okay. On the EJ, on this last Heroes question from Hen Wheezy, definitely would like to see a super detailed short block rebuild video, maybe an EJ 205 or 257. Yeah, I'd like to do that too. That's the right top of my list, guys. That's coming up. That's gonna come up for sure. Thanks. That's a really good response. I'm super conflicted in detail. I know. Mr. Viz with the XT. Yeah, I know. I need to get some XT videos out there. Okay, guys, so that's the live stream for the week. I appreciate you guys checking it out. I got my GC8 coupe behind me. There's gonna be more streaming and more videos coming. Sorry about the delays and the fuck ups on this one. I think I got it figured out a little bit here. And next week we'll make sure we get a little bit smoother from the start. So thanks a lot for checking out the videos. Thanks for supporting the channel, guys. Send me an email at SubaruONLYshop@gmail.com if you want to get in contact with me. You can also find me on Instagram and on Facebook. And until next time, guys, take it easy. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.